Welcome to the first of the Minnesota SCORE Chapter's January series of webinars on the theme New Year, New Business. Today's topic is Learning from the Best, a risk management perspective on Jeff Bezos, being presented by Dr. Jack Hampton.
Presentation is now being recorded, and you'll receive a link to it as well as the PowerPoint slides. So Jack, if you would click, I'd like to just tell you a little bit about SCORE. SCORE is a nationwide nonprofit organization affiliated with the Small Business Administration, or the SBA. We provide free confidential mentoring and educational services. Our chapter, the Minnesota chapter, has nearly 90 volunteers serving Manatee and Sarasota counties in Florida and has been doing this for over 50 years. SCORE, click Jack. In 2020, we were awarded the Diamond of Excellence for outstanding service to the community. SCORE has assisted over 11 million clients since its inception over 50 years ago. I'd also like to say that we help businesses in all phases of their business development. Maybe you woke up this morning and had a dream last night and thought you might like to start your own business. Well, we can help you with that. We'd like it if you give it a little bit more thought, though, but we can help you with your research and planning. We can help you if you are opening a business, looking at leases and trying to get funding. Or if you're in business and you've decided that you wanted to grow your business, we have experts who can help you with that. Or lastly, if you're selling or closing your business, we have a team that specializes in various exit strategies. Click. We'd like you to visit our minnesota.score.org website. Click where you can find, where you can request a mentor. Click. Where you can find a web workshop or webinar, including webinars like this. Perhaps that's where you found ours. Click. We also have live podcasts available. Click. And we have a library of resources that are available to you, both templates and other videos. So visit our website, minnesota.score.org, and see what's there. Click. Lastly, we would like to thank our sponsors and community partners. These are the people that help us keep the lights on, but more importantly, they have committed to helping our clients. So we can help you bridge the gap between you and some of these banks and other sources of funding. Click. As I mentioned, this is the first in a series of New Year, New Business webinars. Next week, we'll be starting a business in Florida, all you need to know. On the 19th, hot franchises for 2020. Instead of starting your own business from scratch, that might be an option. On the 26th, estimating startup expenses. That's always a big topic. People underestimate what it's going to cost to get their business started. And lastly, choosing the right business type, very important. An attorney who has volunteered will be demonstrating your options. Click. So without further ado, I would like to turn the presentation over to our presenter, Dr. Jack Hampton. Take it away, Jack.
Okay, welcome. Thanks to all. Look at me learning how to click when we do this presentation together. I want to point out that, Diane, that I don't blame you. I don't blame Bridget Weston. I don't blame Amanda Capozio. I don't blame Betsy Dugart, Doug Nohe, if that's how he pronounces it, Rick Peluso, Jessica Pisano, Candace Stennett, or the other fine leaders of Minnesota SCORE group. I gladly accepted your invitation to speak, Florida in January. Who could beat that? Then there was a little bit of a risk factor. As you know, I'm at my home in Connecticut. It's 29 degrees outside. Last night we had an ice storm. This is serious. Driveway. It's 12 degrees yesterday. Who knew this would happen? I want you to know I'm happy to be here and share what we're going to do today with this audience. It's a risk management perspective on Jeff Bezos. We pick somebody, we look and get interested in him, we learn some things. Let's see what we do. We've got some background on him. He was born in New Mexico, Princeton University, founder of Amazon. Perhaps some of the audience members have heard of him. And he's got a lot of money from someplace or other. We start a story kind of with where people are, where do they begin, and making this a little bit interactive. What I like to do is I like to put up something, let people think about it for a second, but I want you to think about these questions. For example, if we ask you the birth name of Jeff Bezos, an obvious answer for most people would be that the name is Bezos, but it would not be on a slide. That's probably a decoy. Or maybe the second one is a decoy because we want to show people if you have a name that's not so common, maybe you want to make it shorter or easier to type in or something like that. That becomes a choice. We can rule out Jorgensen. After all, the man's probably not Norwegian or wherever that comes from. Or maybe it's just Preston, a simple name that we can work with. Well, the truth is, he was adopted at age 4. Not necessarily widely known story, but no secret, certainly. Birth name was Jorgensen, changed his name. Beschutz is just my little decoy, and Preston is his middle name. So I suggest to you when we're talking about risk and opportunity, even small things sometimes need to be investigated so we understand some of the context. Okay. Where did Bezos work when he was in high school? It would be logical Microsoft, he's in the tech business. It would be logical Barnes and Noble, he had a bookstore. It would be logical Federal Express because it involves delivery. But in fact, like 15% of Americans, he worked at McDonald's. Different jobs, but basically a short order line cook at the breakfast shift. So people going into their own business oftentimes start out relatively modestly in positions. They've developed some work experience and some skills. Which was he as a teenager? We all know how proud we are of high school valedictorians and national merit scholarships. We want that for our children and our grandchildren. These people are not always the best people to start out in a business. Matter of fact, a lot of research shows that the correlation between schoolwork and successful business is very mixed. Business skills are not always book skills. Sometimes they are. It turns out It turns out that he was both of these things. That makes him an exception as a small business person. Many times valedictorians become doctors or lawyers or professors, stuff like that, but not necessarily business people. High school graduation. We're sitting here talking about the year 1982. What did he tell his audience in those somewhat prehistoric days? That he dreamed when mankind would colonize space does not look very likely. Did he imagine a day where people could shop without leaving their homes? Well, that seems to be a logical answer. It's not the right answer at this point. This man had a vision before he had a business plan. Talking about when mankind would colonize space, we'll come back to that in a moment. But people who start businesses often have visions, and as they develop in life, they convert it into business opportunities. And that's the mission of SCORE, is to help those people. What did he establish in 1993 at the age of 30? Well, a retail bookstore, online bookstore, certainly it might have been something online. Which is the most potential? It's almost an odd choice if we think about it from a risk management perspective. An online bookstore, there are bookstores all over. How might that succeed? But part of the business of having a vision is he developed a business model to accompany it. Take a look at a business model. We have to have a product, we have to have a market, and we have to be able to link the two of them together. That's risk management 101. Well, doing all three of these things in a changing internet world in 1993, a starting internet world, It's a little bit complicated. So he picked a product that he knows will sell, and he doesn't have to learn the functions of manufacturing it. Books are done by somebody else. There's a market. People read books. There are a lot of ways to tell what books people are reading, but there's not a really easy linkage other than to go to a bookstore to get them. So he began to visualize taking a new technology, building the linkage, and he would not have to work so hard on making sure the product worked or that it was wanted in the marketplace. That's a business model, a viable product, a method to deliver it, and a market that's ready to receive it. So we give him a high score on it. It's more complicated if you try to do groceries. You got to have refrigeration and a whole delivery system different. Books, you have UPS, you have Federal Express, you have the post office, all available at a moment's notice. After starting the company, what you do is you have a little climate. What did they put in the climate? Did they put in employees would ring a bell every time you sold a book, or maybe a personal thank you would be mailed to the customer after they got it? You're doing something with the business. He put in an employee would ring a bell. Sounds like a good idea. It only lasted a few weeks. After a few weeks, they were selling so many books in their little operation. The bell was ringing all day long, and it became kind of annoying. So they stopped doing that. A personal thank you note emailed to the customer. The customer gets the book, all is happy. You have a way for them to tell you when it's not working. They didn't bother to automate the personal note. You ordered a book, you got the book, and we're happy to serve you. The first month of the launch takes a while to get a business going. Anybody doing it knows it takes a while to build it. There's momentum that's needed. So to say that he sold books to people in all 50 states or in 45 countries, what do you think happened? How much patience did we need? Happens with the right timing, the right product, and the right market. In the first month, they sold books to people in all 50 states, 45 different countries. Now you have to add the international carriers to the way to get the distribution done. But the internet goes all over. He's working on that. The marketplace becomes much larger than your local Borders or Barnes and Noble's bookstore. So another element of the business model, when all the pieces are in place, sometimes you get fast results. Bezos, was he lucky? Was it really a good business model? Did he have the right team? The answer is probably some or all of those types of things. Let's look at some small decisions that help small businesses. The name of the company, he found that he had a preferred name. It's one of the names on this list, Cadabra, from the magical sounding abracadabra. You get a great idea, you're a business person and you know what's going on. Sometimes you want a few people around you to help you with the small decisions or help you with the dream. Cadabra does sound like abracadabra in one type of a story. It sounds mysteriously like the word cadaver. You may or may not want to have a business name that starts out as a synonym for a corpse. Somebody probably alerted him to, well, maybe there's another way to look at your dream here. And he decides not to go with Cadabra. He has a second choice. Now, this tells you a lot about your character also. And you look for signs in business owner. What is their character? Do they want to dominate markets? Do they want to be people who are conquistadores? They conquest somewhere or other. They want to have a worldwide operation. Well, these are all useful type of things. But something that defines Bezos probably even more than these terms is relentless. Naming a company relentless is probably not the best thing that we can do in terms of image, what have you. It's all right to be relentless. You don't necessarily need to point it out to everybody. But if you think about him, a characteristic he has had, and it's been in social media, he is relentless. It captures what the way he wants his people to think. We're going to be successful. We're going to be relentless in terms of being successful, but maybe we shouldn't call ourselves that. So he picks Amazon, world's largest green area, accounts for 40% of the removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, an area we may want to preserve and protect, 2/3 the size of the United States. Big river that goes with whatever image that is. He chooses Amazon. Okay, then you gotta make decisions along the way, and it tells a little bit more about who you are, or maybe it tells about who you have to be. If you're going to distribute books to people, you've got to be able to get them from publishers, and publishers want to deal with you when you have a volume type of a practice. They don't want to ship you each individual book. That's like a retail business. So one of the publishers had a minimum order of 10 books at a time. Most of the publishers had some minimum order. What did Amazon do if they had an order of 1 or 2 or 3 books from that publisher? What did they do so they had 10 books and could fill the order? Or what did they do in order to figure out how to fill the order quickly, which is what people need from a service that's an online service? Did they just ignore the rule? Well, that's one set of consequences. Did they comply with the rule with the help of a book on lichens? I had to look up what lichens means, so I understood this question. It's some sort of an algae that forms on a rock. We may have people in the audience. If this was a classroom where people could respond, a whole bunch of hands might go up to help me with that. Well, that would be good because it was this answer that he did. Suppose he had 1 copy of a needed book and he wasn't getting another order. What he would do is would submit an order for 1 copy of the needed book and 9 copies of a book on lichens that was no longer being published and was always out of stock, but it was on this one publisher's list. The publisher would get the order. He would fill the 1 book, 2 book, 3 book, whatever it was, and he would put on a message that went back and said, "We will send you the other books when they come into stock," which in the history of the Amazon company, nobody ever saw a book on lichens come into stock. If it did, I don't know what they would go after. Maybe just plain algae, maybe something else. Okay. Then go further into a little bit of the culture of the people who are ordering 1 book and 9 book on lichens. What was their original location? We always talk about, did Bill Gates start out in a garage? Did Jeff Bezos start out in a garage? Barnes and Noble's bookstore, that might be a place, but how do you ship books in the cafeteria area of a Barnes and Noble's bookstore? But the answer actually is the business started in both of them. In the garage, they had piles of books coming in, sorting out the orders. Hopefully they didn't get too many books on lichens. And that was the work area. And that was a frenzied area. If the orders came in this morning, you had to have people package those orders and they had to be out of here on the 4 p.m. UPS pickup. The interesting thing about this one is they also would go regularly as a group to a Barnes and Noble bookstore where they would talk about the business. Now, here's something to think about with your team of people. You're in the business of selling books. You want to have a flavor of the business you're in. Where would you get a flavor of what people read, what they're looking for, what's going on at the current edge? A Barnes and Nobles or a Borders or any large bookstore gives you an opportunity to be sitting, talking, working in that environment. Maybe you do it late in the day after the stuff has been shipped off to UPS, but you sit down, you talk about what happened that day. Somebody points out, when we walked into the store, they're publicizing this book, they're publicizing that book. We don't have that publisher in our list. Maybe we should get that publisher in our list. Maybe we should make that available on our platform. So what you're doing is, in one atmosphere, you have a work environment. In the other atmosphere, you have a learning as well as a work environment. And it gives you a sense of the business you're in, and you watch it grow. And perhaps also you watch how many books you're selling and they're selling, and that may have some motivational impact on your staff. Then you have to spell out the culture and the rules. Okay, talking about a small business. I can only imagine from the various people we must have on our call here and the interest that they may have. I wonder how many of our attendees are fortunately able to run their business less than 40 hours a week. That God bless us when we can do that. But maybe you put in a little more. But it's not what you do personally, it's what do you expect out of your people. Okay, now you may or may not, you may or may not want to go to what Bezos' expectation was more than 60 hours a week. We can make all sorts of calls on this, but in fact, if you're starting a business, if you're into the business, I know so many people do. They would look at 60 hours a week and they would think, okay, boy, I got a lot of free time. The work ethic that goes with it, it's really there. We can't anticipate everything. And that's the risk management piece of it. But then we have to convey with our people a sense of whatever the number of hours is. And we have to be realistic in terms of those expectations and guidelines. But we want them to be thinking about what they're doing, trying to be doing it better, and have that concentrated. So it's not more than whether it's the number of hours. It's are we dedicated? Are we doing it? Are we making it happen? Are we working together? Do we all belong on the team? You've got to spend as much time on those variables, it seems to me, as we spend on simply choosing what the specific tasks are. We've got to match the people to the task. Matching the people to the task. Don't have a chance for people to raise hands here in this format, but I would ask a group of my students, do you think Jeff Bezos ever said, "I'm sorry that I take my stupid pills today," when somebody said something at a meeting? Or perhaps it's somebody who wasn't prepared, who came up with something and hadn't worked it through, hadn't thought about the risk and the opportunity. Would he say to them, "Are you lazy or just incompetent?" Well, that's neither of these is actually a very flattering type of a comment, frequently cited by former employees of Amazon and occasionally noted in the media. He did not have a lot of tolerance, it seems like, but what his way of making people do better was to push them a little bit one way. All business owners find they have to push their people a little way. You have to figure out the right way to do it, make it fit your culture. I don't think I've ever seen that there's one way that's so much better than other ways. These behaviors are unique. They're situational. They fit. You have to fit your product. They have to fit your market. But I would encourage small business owners, managers in these businesses to think about the impact of the way they convey communications, the way they convey messages, what they're trying to achieve. Jeff Bezos had his style. Everybody has their own style. We just have to work out how to make it work. Then you go to things that may or may not fit your situation, may or may not fit other situations. And remember, it's unique to you. Do you want long-term loyal employees? Do you want employees to grow in their job and get promoted or leave? You've got a philosophy on the people you bring into the business. The philosophy at Amazon is very, very distinct, heavily criticized, I might point out. The average length of full-time employment for an Amazon warehouse employee is 10 months. Of the 900,000 employees, they hire 1.4 million employees a year. Last year, I think that was 2020 when I checked it. A warehouse is work for very physical work, oftentimes goes with younger people, maybe starting out in their career, maybe doing some things to help pay for school or to do whatever it's doing. Maybe like the McDonald's jobs of once upon a time when it wasn't retired people oftentimes working in the McDonald's now have something to do. But In a warehouse is fatiguing work. You're moving, you're trying to get a lot done, there's pressure. This is a philosophy with the managers. Bring in new people, bring in people at Christmas, you're going to have to deal with a transient workforce to make deliveries happen. I don't know if that's true or not. That's part of the philosophy and the business model. And I encourage people periodically, as you go through growth stages, to take a look and say, what is it that I need now? At some point, you need to be able to ship books. At another point, you need to have somebody who placates the book publishers because you're ordering books on lichens and they find out what you're doing. A periodic annual review is something they do in corporations almost mechanically. But in a small business, you should be doing continuous review and periodic review. Are there people who should be moving on? Are there people who should be staying? Are there people who should be staying doing different jobs? It's a constant requirement of the business owner who wants to convert to the owner of a large business to pay attention to building the loyal workforce, as well as the workforce where you prepare people to go to other organizations and be productive employees, and to help people when they're mismatched in their job do something different, seems to me. And Bezos, from all the indications of the executives they work with, the middle managers and the warehouse employees, they have a philosophy. Will it stand a lot of scrutiny? Does it fit your business? I don't know, but I think it's interesting to give it some thought. Then you look at an occasional event and you think, okay, they started in 1993. We're now about 10 years later. We started out as a bookstore. Are we doing in 2002 the same things we were doing in 1993? Are we doing it the same way? You usually don't get 10 years to do that. You got to be making the changes all the time, a continuous improvement type of a thing. I just picked 2002 because I think it's an interesting year when you go through those years. What did Amazon do in 2002? Did it launch Amazon Web Services? Possibly we've heard of AWS. Did it launch Kindle? Possibly we've heard of Kindle, where now you're shipping the books, but you don't ship them. You download the books and read them electronically. Did it do both of them? Well, a little bit tricky here. The answer is it did one in 2002. It did the other in 2007. And if you check the growth years of Amazon, it was always doing something. It was never doing the same exact thing. And when it did it, some of the things were staggeringly unique and almost unthinkable. Take AWS. You have to have this great system to catalog books, to make it automatic when you're ordering from the publisher, to make it automatic when you're shipping them out to the clients, to make it automatic when you're billing customers, when you're doing all those things. And you have this gigantic database and you keep improving it and it gets better. Why not share it with others and take a piece of their pie? They don't have that type of a facility. You can work with them. You can customize what you do. They can become your new customers. You're not just selling books. And the thing about this that is most striking is just said in a basic single sentence. Amazon Web Services runs the Netflix system. When you order Netflix, you get a video. Amazon Web Services provides that video. Now, Netflix is colossal. They chew up a massive amount of the web time of the modern age. They sit down, they have a partner who will make sure that the delivery of videos is paid attention to, because that's what they do. They work more than 60 hours a week at Amazon.com. Netflix has, Reed Hastings at Netflix has the same type of a philosophy. We're going to deliver when we say we're going to deliver. They work together. One has an expertise in one area. Netflix expands out and they make their own videos now, their own movies, their own series, which they run on the platform. Amazon platform's growth provides a tremendous portion of its revenue. So what you've got is you start out in a garage with the bookstore and having a 4 o'clock afternoon sit down with donuts at the Barnes and Nobles, and you're into a world where you have a dominant technological position that's doing all sorts of stuff, weather channels and website traffic. You're way beyond that. You're into all sorts of new lines of business, and you continue to grow that over time. What else happened at Amazon in 2002? Okay, multiple choice question. Almost filed a bankruptcy, made a profit of $400 million. Maybe you knew it almost filed for bankruptcy, which is an inconsistent part of the story I've been telling up to this moment. Think about that just for a second. When you're growing fast, you got to be careful about your cash flow. You got to watch it. This is not a job for your accountant, unless your accountant is also a person who knows that accounting is important, but managing cash flow is distinct from the accounting results. And you've got to have capital to not only finance your growth, but a lot of times the growth outruns the capital. And you've got to pay attention to that. You have to reduce the growth or reduce the projects or watch what it does. And you have to have a little reserve behind you. They were growing like mad. They were spending like mad. They were doing business like mad. But they began to realize there may be a crunch point where they would default somewhere. You really don't want to default. That's not very good. But you see you're in that position. First, don't try to get into that position, but if somehow you misjudge a little bit and you get into it, you don't want to just keep going. You don't want to let things happen. You want to respond when a risk arises, when you see the evidence of it. In their case, what they do is they realize there may be a problem. They don't want creditors coming after them. Then you get expert help that you don't have on your staff. You get an outside lawyer who helps you formulate a strategy in case you have to file for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Chapter 11 doesn't mean you're going out of business. It gives you protection from creditors, court protection from creditors. So in case you come to that point where you're about to default on something, then you can get the court to help you with a little reorganization. You can get through that particular period so your cash flow can catch up with your business. This is not Chapter 7 where you're planning to go out of business. This is a business strategy. So you should have some advisors who are talking to you, the banking people, the legal people, the accounting people, so that when these possible situations arise, one, you can prevent them, one, you can prepare for them. This is risk management. It's not only that we have to deal with the risk when it rises. Prevention and mitigation are the techniques that small businesses need to introduce into their business model early. So now let's go to 2003. Here we have possibility of bankruptcy or a profit. Here we have laying off 14% of its workforce or making a profit. And a year later, it had a profit of $400 million. Well, that means it might have been a cash flow problem they were preparing for, working it through, staying on top of it, a little too close to an area that I don't like to be in when you have to think about Chapter 11. But they made the profit and they continued to grow the business. Okay. When did Bezos start Blue Origin to develop a rocket to take humans into space? We probably have all heard of the little rocket that went up there, and Mr. Shatner, I think was in the first one or the second one, or maybe he was in a different one. He sent a rocket into space in 2021. Did he start in 2018? Oh, well, that's not a lot of time to learn how to do rockets. How about 2012? No, 2006. He started the company in the year 2000. Didn't put a lot of money into it early, didn't have a lot of money. Remember 2002, but at some point later on, he did have a lot of money. and he put it into the rocket. And as we speak, all seems to be pretty good. We've got somebody whose vision and activities are in the business, but who also has some things outside. Many people running a business have outside interests and hobbies and family. It's possible to do multiple types of things. And I just alert you, because these are some very big outside type of things, require a lot of thinking. It means you got to have a management team in all of your areas. You grow your business to a certain size, you're managing the business. You're not running the business. You're not doing the business. And you want to spot that point, because it's an important point if the business is to continue to succeed. Where will this man not go? In 2013, not clicking very properly, he purchases the Washington Post. Why on earth would you purchase the Washington Post? What does that have to do with anything? Well, it gives you kind of a nice voice in places like Washington, D.C., gives you a presence. You're in a business that's likely to be very regulated. The internet's unregulated. There are a lot of dark sides to the internet and all of the things you can do with this technology. He's got a voice. Anytime he wants to talk to the world, he doesn't interfere with the editorial content, I'm pretty sure. But what he's done, he and his activities outside, one of the uses of his money has been to pursue other goals and objectives. He purchases the Washington Post. Would he have done better purchasing Disney? Geez, I don't know. Disney did not have a good year in the stock market, maybe not. Or NBC, I don't know if they were for sale. New York Times, not sure what the profit or potential in Washington, D.C. is with the New York Times, but he purchases the Washington Post. So from that description, the question for my students, the question for my audience would be, what is his life philosophy? Is it to reach for the stars? Is it winners move quickly? Keep your eye on the ball, minimize your regrets. It's risk management. Never miss an opportunity. Managing risk, avoiding, transferring, preventing, mitigating risk is the job of a manager. And part of it is to seize an opportunity. Never miss an opportunity. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's Wayne Gretzky from hockey and about 1,000 other philosophers previous times. Minimize your regrets. We made a mistake. Let's fix it. Let's go on. We're doing something wrong. Let's change it. We accepted a risk and we didn't mitigate it. Let's only accept risks when we make sure we have the workforce and the money. Winners don't move quickly. Winners move slowly, quickly, but never miss an opportunity. And that's the man that we're talking about here, whatever else we talk about him. And minimize your regrets is seize opportunity is an important part of risk management, as well as it is of entrepreneurship and running a business. Then you just can do it, just make other decisions. What did you do with your profits? Do you share them with the shareholders? He reinvested them into the business. I checked it at 10 o'clock this morning. Amazon has never declared a dividend. I had to check at 10 o'clock this morning because sometimes I do these things and I'm 3 days late and the world changes on me. Never paid a dividend to shareholders. You buy stock so you get dividends. Well, he reinvested them into the business. And in 2005, I remember saying, when's this company going to give anybody any dividends? I said that also each of the 16 years later. What do you pay the CEO? The median for an American is $40,000 a year. Does he make twice what the median worker makes? Does he make a lot more than that? He makes twice. You wonder how this man can live on Evergreen Point Road in Medina, Washington, on $80,000 a year. don't have a clue as to how he can do it, but that's his annual salary. Oh, we should take a look at a change in his total wealth. In 2020, it increased by $75 billion. I don't know how much that is in Bitcoins, my favorite cryptocurrency, but it does seem, it seems kind of like a lot. Assets, oh my goodness, he got a 2019 divorce. This is in here strictly for gossip reasons. You can't look at these people and not just kind of wonder what the gossip columns are going to do. How much did she get in the 2019 divorce from Bezos? They've been quite a team for a while. I hope they continue with all the work they're doing outside. I had to look this one up. She got $35 billion. I looked it up in the summer. It's worth $66 billion in July. Sometimes there are ancillary effects from successful businesses. We have enough money, tuition to send our kids to college, and we have enough maybe to help them get started somewhere in a business, or we have a little time once we decide to relax a little bit to retire. Looks like Mr. Bezos and the former Mrs. Bezos are in good shape at this point in their lives. How much did Amazon pay in federal income taxes in 2018, 2019? Well, this is a story perhaps for a different timing, except that as a small business owner, if you've got yourself invested properly and you're building the business, you can defer the payment of taxes rather significantly into future periods by the business decisions you make. You get to a certain size, and it just doesn't have to be as big as Bezos. You want to be thinking that way. A large part of having retirement wealth or passing it on is to understand the very complicated system. And that's not your job to understand taxes. You want to have somebody to help you with that, I suggest. And finally, would you have bought Amazon stock when it went public in 1997? Wonder how much you'd have to pay. 100 shares at $18 a share. Well, it's either $1,800 or $180 or something like that, but $18 a share. By 2016, did it go up? Oh yeah, 15 years, 2016, about 15 years. Got that right? 20 years, 22 years. Okay, so that's a nice little gain, 18 to 1,800. 5 years later, I wonder how it's doing. 5 years from $800 to $3,700. Where's it going next? I wouldn't count on it going much further next, but I've been wrong before. If you've got some money, you should have bought it at 18. I should have bought it at 18. That would have been good. Maybe now you have a choice. Your business is successful. Do you put the money back into your business, or do you buy a company that looks like Amazon? That's a risk management choice we make. If you're putting it back into your business, make sure you're still working it and building the business model and preparing for tomorrow. Too many businesses prepare for yesterday. And that is a risk management lesson I caution to anyone thinking about these things. So here's my score. Professors have to give a grade for classroom work and for other work. Desired and reliable products or services, the business model, the man gets an A. Reliable distribution, that was a problem in the 90s. That's not such a problem today. You got FedEx and all those people. They've got the delivery systems that are working. Post office is doing pretty well too. Let's be fair. Then you've got a system that people can log in, finish their work, get it done, get the product and get it to the customer. A for distribution. The marketing system hasn't got himself in a lot of trouble now with people, even as he does very aggressive grabbing a business. Have to give marketing system an A. I give him a C for capital adequacy. Don't watch your capital, capitalize the business, get a business model that people can support and will support with capital, keep a little money in reserve. Don't get yourself seriously discussing Chapter 11 bankruptcy as Amazon had to do in the year 2002. Diane, I think my time is just about up for that. I just say that this is probably the end of our presentation. I hope it's kind of just the beginning of some work for some people in our audience. I know it's not just the beginning for SCORE. You guys are doing really great. I thank you so much for including me in the opportunity to be with you and the people who I hope love you. And I turn it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack. I think one thing that came out of your presentation, I think Amazon in 2002 should have applied for some SCORE mentors when they were thinking about bankruptcy. we have professionals who could have advised them on that. So if we have any of our participants who are on the brink as Amazon was, apply for a SCORE mentor. There's the lesson that's a takeaway from this.
That's great.
We only have one question. Actually, it's not a question. I think it's more of a comment. Explaining decision tree would be more applicable to risk management. And there's probably many ways that you could describe risk management. What do you think, Jack?
What happens is I have an American Management Association published a book on enterprise risk management, my book on it. And what it says is risk and opportunity, the opposite side of the same coin. And there are so many tools to better understand what the risk is, how to identify it, how to take steps to prevent it, how to take steps to mitigate it, how to take steps to transfer it, or what you have to do. And a decision tree shows when you accept it, these are the things you have to do. It would apply to the business model. You have to have a product. It has to have certain design features. You have to have that ready to go. You have to know where the market is and have links to tell about them. And you have to get it there. Decision tree is one of many powerful tools for risk managers.
Well, you might like to hear this from one of our participants. Lily said, I loved how Dr. Hampton presented the topics. Thank you and Happy New Year. I thought you might appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's all the questions and comments that we have. So if you could just click one more time. By the way, here's contact information for Dr. Hampton if you wanted to reach out to him. But I wanted to reinforce that you should go to our website, the minnesota.score.org website. Remember, on there, click, Jack, you can find a mentor, or in fact, you could volunteer. You may not know about risk management, but we can certainly help use your expertise. If you are looking for a mentor, you can find one there. You can check out our other workshops and meetups. You can look at our podcast and business scorecard articles and look at our online resources. Click. Don't forget, we have more in this series. We have 4 more presentations. You can sign up for these on our website. Click. And lastly, we will be sending out a survey. If you could just take a moment and fill in the survey. One thing that you can do is tell us how we can improve it, but more importantly, what are some other topics that are you interested in? I'm the education chairman. I'm always looking for ideas on what other webinars would interest you. So if you could take a moment to do that, I'd appreciate it. We have a little glitch in our system so that the video will not be available to you until early next week. So you will be getting your email at that time. There was one, actually 2 questions came in. Do you have a moment to answer these, Jack? Or
yes, of course, of course.
Okay, what are from Elena. What are key Amazon rules that Bezos followed?
What are the Amazon rules?
What are key Amazon rules? Were there some key rules that he followed when he was developing Amazon?
Sure.
Mhm.
What if you go through that slide presentation, you can see the key behaviors at each step of the way. He had a desire to have the very best people working for him, but even though he was very, valedictorian and what have you, but a lot of the tasks are done a combination of people tasks and tasks. Amazon gets the whole picture together. They sit down and they talk about at the end of the day at Barnes and Nobles, what went wrong. They then fix what went wrong. They don't wait until it becomes a problem. If they get customer complaints, they are on it. When somebody has a product they want, they don't fight with you. They take the stuff back. They just simply take it back. Send it back too often, they don't fool around. They just ban you. When your business is too small, we were on Amazon for a while with Princeton Books, one of the companies I'm involved with, and they shut us off. We didn't do the volume. They send you a little note and say, please go somewhere else. So they get rid of the things that don't make the money. They go for the things that make the money, and that goes in that culture all the way down to the assistant managers in the warehouse. The assistant managers in the warehouse are as much on task in most cases. They don't always last that long, but they're on task as much as Mr. Bezos.
One other. What was the fourth part of the desired business model?
The fourth part of the desired business model.
Yeah, I don't recall this being.
No, it's there are many parts of a business model. You can read about that, but basically the business model is product or service, linkage, and a clearly identified focused market. There may be somebody who has a fourth part to it. Off the top of my head, I don't know what that one other thing would be. Okay,
well, that's our questions, and I think I've got all of the chat, other than, great presentation, yada, yada, yada. More of that, but I don't want to go to your head, Jack.
No, I'm people who are running a business are my kind of people. I've worked with them. I love it. I think it's exciting. One of the things I would observe is that after you're successful, people say, well, anybody could have done that. That's not true. The risks, when you're looking at it, and you look at your business, there's risk. But the great thing about it is there's also opportunities. And I'll bet you a lot of the 4.5 million people who dropped out of the workforce in November are going in, opening new businesses. That's a vibrant part of our economy right now. God bless.
We are overwhelmed with clients who are exactly in that position.
Yeah.
They have dropped out of the job market in order to pursue their dreams. And some of those dreams are great and will come to fruition, but working with a SCORE mentor is going to raise your probability level of success.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Jack. This has been absolutely fascinating. I learned a great deal, and I hope that everyone in our audience has as well. So for all of you who are still with us, come on back next week and take another webinar. We'd love to see you again. Thank you, Jack, and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Diane. Thanks to everybody at the chapter, all the leadership and the volunteers and the workers. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.